AME is currently 9-1 in his last 10 games as Terrorblade carry. Notice how I specified that it's carry because, believe it or not, Terrorblade is being played a lot as a support now. With the buffs he received in 7.35C, the hero is significantly stronger and is now being picked a lot as a carry in Dreamleague as well. With that being said, it is the best time to spam this hero, and why not learn it from none other than one of the best players in the world. This video will be a step-by-step guide to help you play a Terrorblade like AME does. Is this you? Say goodbye to mobile recordings and hello to Outplayed. Record your epic moments with ease and share them in stunning quality. Customize your recordings, show off your outplays, and cut off your clip just when you're about to die. With a ton of supported games, even I use Outplayed to record my clips. Outplayed, record like a pro, and the best part, it's completely free. Thanks to Outplayed for sponsoring this video. TB has been getting buffs since the last few patches and is now in a position where he is considered a good pick, especially because he is considered as a counter against the current meta picks like DK and Luna because of his reflection. Some of the strengths of TB include the fact that he has a strong laning phase because of his high base armor, reflection, and metamorphosis. Even when he doesn't have a great lane, he can still recover fairly fast thanks to his illusions. Conjure image has a lot of creative usage. It can be used to scout enemies, split push lanes, and farm dangerous parts of the map that other heroes cannot. The illusions themselves are stronger than other illusions in the game. With this item build, TB becomes a really tanky hero in the later stages of the game, and combined with Sunder, it is really hard to take him down. In a map so big, illusion scouting makes it really hard to gank him. He can pressure lanes without putting himself in danger and has the capability to take down buildings by himself, which are two of the strongest factors which can help people win games alone, especially in the lower brackets. And you know what the best part is? TB doesn't require the same level of micro as other illusion heroes like Naga or PL. In fact, you can play TB without microing, which I will go over later in the guide. For his starting item build, he goes for the same build in every situation. His build is a Quelling Blade, Slippers of Agility, Circlet, Double Branch, and a Fairy Fire. No tangos. This is a build catering towards physical damage sustenance. It is very odd that he goes for this build in every game, even against heroes like Mars plus Batrider, because these heroes do a lot of spell damage, which is basically free stick charges. I watched a bunch of his games to determine why he does this. He does go for a stick or magic wand after he upgrades his slippers and circlet into a wraith band. The reason he always goes for the wraith band component build is that it is really hard to trade against a Terrorblade at level 1 because of reflection. Once TB hits level 2, it is even harder, thanks to metamorphosis. Hence, the first 2 to 3 minutes of the game are in favor of AME, so he can get away with going for this greedy build, and by the time he loses the advantage, he already has the magic wand. The other reason he goes for this build is that TB does not have good base damage, and with this build, he gets 9 extra damage thanks to the 7 agility plus 2 damage from the Fairy Fire, which helps him in last hitting better. After getting the Bounty Rune, AME always ships out a set of tangos to himself. AME is open to fighting for Bounty Runes as a Terrorblade. TB's kit does not allow him to contest the Bounty Rune by himself, but with his team around him, his reflection is one of the strongest level 1 spells when it comes to fighting. AME stays near the Bounty Rune that is closer to his safe lane, and if his team is with him, he is open to helping them with reflection. If his team is not with him, he does not contest the Bounty Rune. AME's laning phase is standard. He focuses on getting as many last hits and denies as possible. The main thing about Terrorblade's laning phase is understanding how to use reflection, metamorphosis, and conjure image properly. AME only has one rule for using reflection. He only uses it when he knows he can use it on 2 heroes at the same time. Reflection has a short cooldown and can be used at least twice every minute. The spell makes it impossible for the enemy to trade with AME, and they have no choice but to back away. This spell makes laning against TB amazingly hard. The most efficient way of using it is when you can use it on both the heroes in your lane, and AME does this off cooldown. In terms of his metamorphosis usage, the best way to use it is obviously when you can get a kill out of it, but that's not always possible. If AME feels pressured by the enemy, he uses meta to make sure he is the one who is pressuring the enemy and not the other way around, even if he cannot get a kill out of it. The point of using meta is to get a significant advantage in the lane. This could be in the form of getting a kill, or something as simple as zoning out the enemy and denying all of your creeps. AME has 3 ways of using his Conjure image in the lane. If he's not scared of being pressured by the enemy, he uses his illusion to soak up the damage from the creeps and to get a bunch of denies. This allows him to not take damage by tanking the creeps and simultaneously secure last hits as well. If he feels like the enemy will pressure him when he's trying to secure last hits, he uses Conjure Image and commands his illusion to keep hitting the enemy, which makes them back away. This allows him to secure the last hits that he otherwise would not be able to get. The third way he uses his illusion is probably the most interesting. He uses his illusion and tries to deny the enemy Wisdom Rune. This is a really good play as it does not involve AME risking his own life for the rune and still being able to deny experience for the enemy team. It doesn't always work, but if the enemy is stupid enough not to realize where the illusion is going, you will definitely deny their rune. For his lane item progression, AME first upgrades his Wraithband components into Wraithband, followed by a magic wand if required. He goes for a magic wand if he's in a lane where there will be a lot of spell usage, for example, against Batrider plus Mars. If he does not feel like the wand will be valuable, he skips it. After that, he builds towards his treads. He buys Band of Elwenskin first, followed by Gloves of Haste, and then Boots of Speed. TB inherently has high movement speed, and the illusions benefit more from the stats and attack speed. After treads, AME buys a casual Ring of Basilius. Because of constant illusion usage, TB always has mana issues. Basilius helps with that. He sometimes buys Raindrops as well if he's in a lane where he needs to sustain against magical damage. For his skill build in the lane, at level 1, he always takes Reflection as it's good in the lane, followed by Metamorphosis at level 2, and then if meta is on cooldown at level 3, he skills Conjure Image. If meta is off cooldown, he skills meta again at level 3. After that, at level 4, he skills Conjure Image. He maxes Conjure Image first and then meta once meta has 2 points. He takes Sunder at level 6 if he plans on staying in the lane and feels like it will be useful. Otherwise, he skips it and puts the point in Conjure Image to farm the jungle faster. Once AME has at least 3 points in Conjure Image, he starts to push in the enemy wave and then starts farming the side camps. His farming pattern is simple. Every minute, 2 enemy waves will spawn. AME tries to farm both those waves and at least 2 side camps. He pushes in the lane and then farms the nearest and safest side camps and then back to the lane to farm the wave. Consistently doing this allows AME to have more than 60 last hits by 10 minutes in every game. Every video takes a lot of effort, and I want to keep helping you guys by making quality content. If you are enjoying the video, please make sure to like and comment as it helps with the YouTube algorithm, and do subscribe. Now back to the guide. For his first big item after treads, AME always prefers going for the Dragonlance. TB inherently has a way of getting damage thanks to Metamorphosis, but what TB does not like is the inability to hit his foes and suffers from low health. Dragonlance provides him with extra range and stats that not only make him tanky, but also his illusions. This item allows AME to join early fights and also to pressure towers with meta if required. If you're worried about microing as TB, I have good news for you. I have over 200 games as TB and I've never assigned a separate hotkey to micro the illusions. You can manually click on his illusions and use Shift plus Attack command to make the illusions farm multiple places without you having to look at them. If you want to get all the illusions plus your main hero to be next to you, you can enable the unified order with control option and then hold the control key while issuing orders, and they will work for every illusion or unit that you have. Now let's talk about how AME uses his illusions efficiently to farm and pressure lanes. Always remember that illusions are supposed to help you accelerate your farm, which means that you need to use them to access farm that you otherwise would not get. You send your illusions to waves or camps you cannot visit with your main hero. AME loves playing around the gates. This allows him to farm and pressure 2 lanes at the same time. He uses his illusion and sends it deeper while using the gates to go to the other side. After getting his Dragonlance, AME is open to pressuring the enemy towers or joining early fights. If the enemy mid tier 1 or safe lane tier 1 is still alive, AME tries to take it with his meta and mostly succeeds as he has a good timing. If the enemy is trying to take a fight and he has meta off cooldown, he tries to help his team with reflection and meta. You have to be very careful while doing this because if the enemy has good spells, you will end up feeding. The best way to make this decision is by keeping track of the enemy's big spells cooldown and taking advantage of that. After getting his Dragonlance, AME opts for the Manta style in every game, even against spells like Doom and Lasso where SNY would be considered to be better. Manta gives TB the stats that his hero and his illusions greatly benefit from, not to mention the hero is already an illusion hero and the build-up is easy. Manta combined with Metamorphosis helps TB take down towers and dish out damage in fights as well. After Manta, AME decides between Scotty, Butterfly or BKB. In the majority of his games, he prefers Scotty over the others. Don't get me wrong, he mostly buys all of these items in the same game. It's the pattern that matters. If he's against foes that have a lot of spell damage, lockdown, and needs to fight early, he tends to prefer BKB first over the other two. BKB helps him hit foes, which he otherwise won't be able to do against heavy lockdown lineups with burst damage. If he's against heroes who don't care about BKB and do mixed damage rather than just physical damage, he prefers Scotty over the other two. Scotty makes TB super tanky, and the active of Scotty helps him chase down targets easily with meta. Some examples are heroes like Doom, Magnus, and Enigma. If he is against heroes who don't care about BKB and do mostly physical damage, like a lineup with Slardar, Phantom Assassin, Wind Ranger, or Templar Assassin, he prefers Butterfly as his third item over the other two. TB is inherently good against physical damage, and with Butterfly, he's on steroids. Butterfly also makes his illusions impossible to kill without spell damage, and on top of that, it gives him a lot of damage as well. He mostly buys all of these items in the same game as they're all good on TB. If he goes BKB first, he usually skips the Scotty but not the Butterfly. For example, if he's in a game against Pango, Doom, and Phantom Assassin, BKB first is crucial for the Pango role, and then Butterfly is good for the Phantom Assassin. Buying BKB first and then Scotty ruins the timing for the damage item for TB, which in this case is the MKB. We will discuss this more in the late game itemization shortly after one segment. TB without meta is a weak hero, and AME tends to avoid engaging in combat if meta is on cooldown, especially in the later stages of the game. When meta is on cooldown, the enemy knows that they have an advantage and usually wants to force you into a fight. Meta has a really big cooldown, and what AME does to buy time for the metamorphosis to go off cooldown is that he split pushes the lanes with his illusions so that the enemy has to deal with the waves, which buys time for the meta to get off cooldown. If you don't do this as TB, you will find yourself in a really bad situation. For example, if you've pushed in one lane, TP to the other side and push that one as well. This way, the enemy has to deal with two lanes rather than only one before they can make a move. For his overall skill build, he maxes his Conjure image first, followed by Metamorphosis. He tends not to put more than 1 or 2 points in Reflection and prefers taking stats over the Reflection. As discussed before, TB benefits a lot from stats in general, and skilling them is more advantageous than the Reflection. We've already discussed what is his pattern of taking his abilities and Sunder in the early stages of the game. Now let's discuss the talents. For his talents at level 10, AME always prefers a 10% Conjure image damage over the Reflection cooldown. The damage increase will help him in farming faster, dealing more damage in fights, and to buildings. It is a no-brainer. At level 15, he prefers taking the minus 20 seconds meta cooldown talent over the 10% reflection slow and damage. A lower cooldown on the meta means that there is less room for the enemy to have an advantage and more possibilities for fights for the TB. At level 20, he always goes for the plus 10 seconds duration increase on the Conjure image over the plus 10 stats. The duration increase on the illusion helps in split pushing. It allows the illusions to push multiple waves. The stats are good, but stats can be bought. The duration increase cannot. AME only got to level 25 in 2 games, and in both those games, he preferred the Sunder cooldown reduction. In the later stages of the game, the fights are chaotic, and TB with all of his items is really tanky. And with only 10 seconds cooldown after the talent, Sunder can be used multiple times and change the outcome of the game. Meta already has a long duration. 20 seconds more isn't going to help in high-paced fights in the later stages of the game. After sorting his mid-game itemization, AME builds towards his damage items. It's either Daedalus or MKB. He goes for MKB if he's playing against evasion. It could be heroes with a butterfly or heroes with natural evasion like PA or Wind Ranger. If there's no evasion, he always goes for Daedalus. After the damage item, he goes for Satanic and Swift Blink. In the later stages of the game, TB usually has a lot of damage, but lacks catch and reach. The Swift Blink helps with that. Usually at this point, the game is over, but if the game is not over, AME synths and Aghanim's, which complements well with the Swift Blink as well. When it comes to taking team fights, AME tends to focus on targets that cannot run away from him. This could mean heroes without mobility, or who don't have a solution for the Scotty slow. He uses meta and hits them to death. He uses Sunder for survivability whilst lowering the HP of the enemy core, which makes it easier to kill the enemy. Most of TB's teamfight is dependent on the type of catch your team has. It is usually hard to teamfight as TB if your team has no catch, so buying Blink in that case is good. The key is to find a way to keep hitting the enemies with meta. If you wish to significantly improve your gameplay on any role, I offer private coaching lessons and training plans that can help you reach higher ranks as they have for other students. If you're interested, limited slots have been opened for March, which can be found on my Discord linked in the description. Please make sure to subscribe and like the video for more high quality content like this. Other than that, I stream on Twitch, which can also be found in the description. Do let me know in the comments if you have any feedback. Otherwise, have a nice day and good luck with your games.